Hi again, Rick here, Chef on a Budget. Tonight I'm going to do a blackened rump steak with Rosti potato, wild rocket and a yogurt and sour cream sauce. The steak I found is a nice piece of rump that was on special. I would love to be doing it with fillet steak, but we're not paying top dollar for our steak. So here we go, let's go through the ingredients. Got approximately 1 kilo of Desiree potatoes. I have some Cajun spice mix, have some rosemary, some thyme and some chives, have some wild rocket, some Parmesan cheese, 1 egg, 1 brown onion, 1 lemon, and then I have my 4 rump steaks. Okay, now I'll show you how to do the Rosti. Okay, so for your Rosti, you will need to blanch your potatoes. I leave the skin on. I don't see any point in removing the skin. So what you need to do, put them in a pot of cold water, bring them to the boil, and let them tick away for probably about 5 to 7 minutes. Turn them off, strain them, and just leave them to sit somewhere to cool down. They must be cold when you grate them, otherwise they're going to turn to mush. So just grate your potato into the bowl. Okay, so just go through and do all your potatoes. Right, so all my potatoes grated now. As I said, it's a little bit starchy, so that's the whole reason of blanching. And blanching, for those who don't know, just means par-cooked, okay? So it won't discolor. It's also great for making your own hash browns. Now, I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients to the potato mixture. So it's actually a big brown onion that I have here, so I'm actually decided I'm only going to use half of it. Take the eye out of the back of the onion, just like that. Now if you haven't seen any of my other videos, fold your fingers over, tuck them under, like that. Right, that way you can't cut yourself, or just take your time. Slice the onion. Okay, onion in with your potato. Okay, I put in some rosemary leaves, not too many. Rosemary is quite a woody and strong herb. I'm going to put in some thyme leaves. Lucky for me, I have thyme and rosemary growing in my garden. Get some herbs growing in your garden, folks. The woody herbs like rosemary and thyme and sage will grow all year round. And once they're established, they don't even need a lot of water. Then in the warm months, that's when you get your coriander, your basil, your parsley, etc. going. Okay, so to that, probably don't even need an egg, but I'll put it in anyway, minus the shell. Okay, so what have I got? I've got that. Right. You won't find this in a traditional Rosti recipe, but I'm just going to put a little bit of fresh grated Parmesan cheese in my Rosti. Why? Because I like it. Okay, about that much. Right, salt and pepper, season it up. Lots of black pepper, good whack of salt. Keeping in mind the Parmesan cheese has quite a bit of salt in it. Now, clean hands, just squash it all together. Okay, give it a good mix. Okay, just wash my hands. Okay, so now that's done, we'll move over to the stove. Okay, so pan on the stove. Something I neglected to mention is you'll need a good knob of butter. You'll also need a nice bit of olive oil as well. Now don't be scared of the fat in this. Butter will give it flavour. It will help it brown up and obviously not stick, fingers crossed. And the olive oil will stop the butter from burning in the pan. Okay, so we'll just let that come to heat. Okay, so when that's heated up, you can hear it bubbling away there. Just start packing your potato mix into your pan. Okay, you can make these individually if you wish, have little round ones, but I actually quite like making one great big one and then cutting it into wedges. Okay, so just flatten that out nicely, making sure it's all joined up where there's no holes. So basically just one dirty great big potato cake. Okay. Now that will all stick together. The starch alone should be enough to hold this together. But we have our insurance policy of the egg. All right, so now what we want to do, just twist your pan handle like this, right? Give it a flick. You'll see that the potato is moving around. Okay, so we just want to stop that from sticking. You don't want it up too hot. Okay, so I'll let that go. That's probably going to take a good 3 or 4 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer. Make sure you've got your oven preheated to about 180, 180 centigrade, of course, being in Australia. Okay, so we'll let that tick away. Right, so while our potato is in the oven, when I was going through the ingredients, I neglected to mention the sauce ingredients. So you'll need a couple of nice big spoonfuls, about 100, 150 mils of sour cream. And also about the same in natural yogurt. Or you could just do it all in natural yogurt if you didn't want to use the cream. Juice of 1 lemon. This is the way to find out where all the little cuts on your hands are. Okay. Okay, so in with your 2 cloves of garlic. And in with some chopped chives. Minus the elastic band. Okay. Good crack of black pepper. Good hit of salt. And just combine all that together. Taste, check your seasoning. Okay, and there's your sauce. It really is as easy as that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is blacken our steaks with Cajun spice. Just buy yourself some Cajun spice, it's not expensive. You can make your own if you so wish. There's a bit involved, and no 2 recipes are the same. So just make sure there's no big lumps of it. Okay. It's a perfect time to do this now because we're going to rest our steaks, and I'll explain that shortly. Okay, so we'll get a hot pan on the stove and we'll move back over to the stove. Okay, once your oil's nice and hot, Dip it in your Cajun spice. Cajun spice is quite hot, spicy. Okay. So make sure you've got your range hood on, or you will choke on the fumes. Now I like my meat medium rare, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till I see the first signs of just a little bit of blood coming up through the center. And as soon as I see that red, that bit of blood or juice, I'm just going to flick them over for about another minute and take them straight out. I'm going to rest them on a rack. Okay, I'm just starting to see a little bit come through here. That one's a bit thicker. So what I might do is I might put that one up there over. Look how black that is. Don't be worried, that's what you want. Might put that one over as well. Okay, a bit of moisture looking there, so I'll take those two out. These ones are a little bit thicker, so I'm going to give them an extra 60 seconds. So my steaks are resting on a rack in a tray. The idea of resting a steak. Now, when you cook any meat, the muscle, effectively it is a muscle, the muscle will tense up, will contract with the heat, right? So if you don't let it sit for a good 10-15 minutes, you can always flash heat it again really quickly. But if it doesn't sit for that period of time, have you ever been out for dinner or cooked at home and you've had a big puddle of meat juices on your plate? Well, that's why, because you haven't rested your steak. So even roast should be rested, everything. So if you give it a good rest, when you slice it, all that liquid, which is the flavor, will stay inside the meat where it's supposed to be and won't end up as a puddle on your plate. Okay, so I've taken my Rosti out of the oven. Okay, so it's been in the oven for about 30 minutes. Now, I'm going to turn it out onto a plate. So just grab it khaki-handed like that. Get your plate, there, and just flip it upside down. Okay, I've had a little bit stick, but it's not too bad. Okay. Doing Rosti this way, this will keep really well in the fridge. And it will set firm. It will set firm and it'll be a lot easier to serve. Okay, so just cut your Rosti into the portion size you would like. Okay, so this is pre-wash rocket. Just get yourself squished, give it a little bit of a squish. Stick it next to the potato. You don't want to stick it on the potato for obvious reasons. You've just made that look all pretty. You don't really want to cover it up. Steak. And whichever way you see the lines going, slice in the opposite direction. Okay, then just lay them. Oh, how are we going to do this? Maybe on the rocket. Okay, it looks really flash, but I mean, really, what is it? Bit of rump steak, bit of potato. Maybe a little bit of drizzle of olive oil. Okay, and then just your yogurt sauce over the top. Okay, there you have it, folks. Blackened rump steak, Rosti potato, wild rocket, and a lemon yogurt and sour cream sauce. Works out about $5 a portion. See you next time. Chef on a budget.